So, welcome back to On Fairy Stories with me and Eugene Terekhin.
I just got a notification on my phone that we're live.
Perfect.
just in case I forget. Anyway.
Well, the real question is, are you live, Eugene?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, thank you. That's the reason we're going here, to become more alive.
More alive. Oh, good. Yes, I totally agree. I feel, yeah, thanks to George MacDonald and you, the work that you do on your Substack, and Martin Shaw, and so many influences at the moment. Malcolm Guite. Mythology has really become, for me, like a key thing to understand. Let's put it that way. Like and not in a rational way, but it's like any language that you're learning. You have to just immerse yourself in it, right?
Yeah.
So hence the Kalevala. I've been, reading the Kalevala, reading the book that I told you about, and actually I would say that the Helliand really kicked it off for me, because when I read the Helliand with Jeremy, I was astounded at how much more I understood about the scriptures. Because they told it in a mythic, in a bardic way, with it's written by an ancient mind for ancient minds.
Yeah.
And suddenly I saw how the scriptures are actually ancient.
They are
right, like they're ancient, and so it's like, why am I trying to understand them any other way? So anyway,
there was a point where, when I was reading NIV, the translation of the New Testament, that's pretty recent. I mean, even in the 90s, it was pretty like modern.
Yeah.
But then over the years, I started to notice that they are like updating their translation. They're coming up with new phrases, new words, and every time I would look up the way that it was when I started reading NIV, I was disappointed, because they would change something that had more of Barfield in it to something that is more explanatory, something definition based, and very devoid of that kind of richness, linguistic richness. So, but at a certain point, I stopped reading NIV altogether, because I really don't think that it's the Bible. I mean, it is the Bible in some ways, but it's because of this tendency. It's made so shallow.
Yeah.
That I'm almost like questioning, like, what I mean. It's like you said about Helliand. It was written by the ancient mind for the ancient minds, whereas NIV seems to be written by the modern minds and for the modern minds, which to me kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
because we already are in the modern mind. Why do we need more of the modern mind?
No, we don't. We don't need more of that. You said the richness of language is lost, and when you were saying that, I was like, what does that mean to Eugene? Because he's a translator. When you say that, I really want to understand what you're thinking about. Like, don't give me the definition. I know what that is, but what is it that you note because you're dealing with, let's say you're translating something from Russian into English or English into Russian, and it's symbolic in nature.
Yeah.
What kind of place do you go to access that information?
Believe it or not, I've just been thinking about it the other day.
Oh, really?
It has to do with a conversation I had with somebody on Substack, I believe. A whole conversation about the origin of language, I believe
Mm,
it was, and or AI, something like that. And to me, it makes a huge difference how words to come about,
right.
where they come from. Because, for instance, if I translate, whether it's poetry, whether it's just a documentary about somebody or anything, for me to come up with a word is never something I do, really. That.
Mm,
But when I was just starting out as a translator, that's what I would do. That you just come up with words. You come up with words. That's your mindset.
right.
It doesn't come out very good. So my editor told me, my first editor was a really good guy. He was a Lutheran, and he just really he gave me a hard time, but he was really really helpful in that way.
Yeah.
But one thing he'd be telling me like, um, you can't translate words. Translation is not about putting words in the right places.
Oh,
Speaking is not producing words or coming up with. You have to listen to what already is speaking, and then see
wow.
what arises at the moment. And to me, that's like a key, because it's I have to feel what arises in me, what word is arising as a response to what I'm
Mm,
hearing, as a response. So this is like a dialogue, incredible dialogue. And then what happens is that the thing that comes through you is you participate in it, because it kind of somehow it comes through you, but you are so cognizant that it's not you. It's kind
right.
of like through you. It's part of you, but you're like a mother of God, so to say. It
Yeah, you're giving
arises,
birth to,
giving birth to something. And
right.
to me, it was so different from the kind of picture that whoever was speaking in that conversation, on the other end of the conversation, because it kind of sounded like you can synthesize that. You can sort of like synthesize. Oh, I know what it was. It was somebody who basically asked AI, like Claude or something, to give a response to something in one of my articles, and then Claude or whatever it was gave an opinion of how you can come up with, I don't know, rich text, or like a
Yeah,
rich
yeah.
language or something. And it was basically like the way AI does it is it synthesizes. It's
Yes.
based on algorithmically. Whereas my question to AI is if it can. I mean, of course, it can't really respond, but it's like, what are you AI? What are you hearing? What are you
Yeah.
hearing?
What are
And
you hearing? Yeah.
what are you hearing, and what arises in you?
So if I listening to you, tell me if I have this right. What I'm understanding you to be saying is that you're actually, as like any writer, musician, any creative type person, you're relying on the muse,
Yes, yes,
which is just a mystery, isn't it?
it is. It is. Mhm.
Mm, that's
Because
interesting. I would never have thought that that would be the case for a translator, but when you say it, it makes perfect sense to me.
yeah, uh,
Because Jeremy and I were talking once on Lives of the Saints how AI, most of the people working with AI are giving it a context.
yeah,
That's their job. They have to just constantly give it a context, right?
mhm,
And I thought, well, that I said to Jeremy, I said, well, that's actually because it doesn't have a body, right? Because
mhm,
the context is the setting in a story.
mhm,
Like let's take Genesis, Adam and Eve are in the garden. What's the context? The garden is the context of that story, right?
mhm,
And so it matters what's in the garden, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and, you know, the
mhm,
animals and but if you don't have a body, you can't be placed in a context. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
mhm,
So it's not surprising that the biggest job people have with AI is to give it a context because it doesn't have a body.
exactly.
right? But when you talk about translating and your editor says to you, you have to listen, you're putting yourself in the setting of what the author's, like, you're putting yourself in his shoes essentially,
Hmm.
right? Like you're in his context.
Yes,
And
true.
then what he says can speak, it's
Hmm.
greater than the words,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Some of the translation companies I've been working with, um, I had to really like explain to them why I cannot deliver a particular piece in chapters. Like they'll say, "How about you just do one chapter or one whatever file and then deliver it?"
Right.
I'm saying like this kind of defeats the whole process of translation because you only know what you are translating at the end.
Right.
When you're done, then you know what the beginning is
Yeah.
all about. Because when you break it up, you fragment the whole, and then you can't revisit, and you can't really do it that way. But they still do it, their own way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's why there's so many subpar translations.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the vision of the whole is like really key.
It's essential.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah. Because that is your context. The whole thing is the context, and you can't know what they're saying until you know where they are,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Essentially. I mean,
I,
that
I,
happens sometimes when you read a book. You read a book and you're like, don't get anything, don't get it, don't really get it. And then all of a sudden you get to the end and you go, oh, now I.
Yeah, now I think I know why he said that or what happened. Are you familiar with an Orthodox priest, Anthony of Surosh?
No.
It's Antoni Suroshsky in Russian. He was serving in London. Pretty much, he died in 2002, and he was there since probably 1914,
Oh, wow.
and a long, long time.
Yeah.
And But he's very famous he was very famous in Russia in the 90s and beginning of 2000s.
Okay.
But one thing that he told his congregation, if I can call it, like his parish, let's say, and some of his disciples, is that uh, when I prepare a sermon, uh, I can't really prepare. Really, I mean, there's no preparation. I can't really prepare anything. All I need to do is to open this text, whatever I'm reading, and allow it to speak.
Mm.
And then I'll really allow it to speak, then I know what to say.
Hmm.
And that's one thing that people really noticed about a lot of his sermons, and there are books of his sermons right now, that it's he doesn't speak like it's structured in any way.
Right.
It reads like an inner response,
Okay.
and that's what it makes it so unique.
Right.
I know there are lots of people who don't like his style and don't like him, but it really struck me when I first
Yeah.
started reading him.
It's more like a conversation with the text.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, thanks for enlightening me there, because when you said that, I'm like, I wish I could crawl inside his brain and know what that felt like.
uh,
So, yeah.
but it is
Okay.
exhilarating to give birth to words
Oh, totally it is. Yeah.
as opposed to kind of
Even when
invent.
you're writing, I mean, you do a lot of writing as well, like a ton of writing, actually. I'm just so impressed with your writing. Um, and it seems to me like everything you write is a revelation to you,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah, yeah. It's also
Which,
healing,
yeah,
and for me, it's therapy, really.
yeah,
Uh, because there's so many unconscious things in my mind, and unless I bring some light of consciousness to that particular thing, it affects me even bodily. I mean,
right.
I really have to go to that fairyland to eat
Mhm.
of its food to stay sane and be myself.
Oh, really? Eh? That's
Mhm.
amazing. I get that. I mean, I don't have. Unfortunately, I'm not as highly productive as you are. But when I write poetry, it's a culmination of bodily angst. Like I can feel it in my body that this thing wants to come out, and I don't really ever have any like lines running through my head or ideas or anything. It's just, well, actually, when it's going to be born, it I call it crowning. You know how babies crown?
Mm,
Like I just get a glimpse of what it is, and then I start writing.
mm,
And then when it's over, I feel physically relieved.
mm.
Like my
Yeah, yeah,
body feels like, oh, okay, good, we got that out.
yeah, 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 yeah. I know the feeling.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if I can handle that every day like you do.
Yeah, it used to be every day the first year. Now it's every other day.
Okay.
But I try to do it like every
It's fantastic.
two
I
days.
wish I could.
But I think I need more than that. You know, it's just like a desire to really, if you have something to say, you need to say it. You know, that type of thing.
Exactly. And I don't know where the book is right now, but I have a book by William Stafford, who was a writer, poet. And he says that if you want to be a writer, you have to write every day.
Mm.
You have to
Hmm.
write something.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because it's such an like it's almost exhausting, like because it's physical for me, as it is for you, obviously. I've stayed away from it. It makes me nervous. Um, because I'm in a state beforehand. It's all good at the end. It's all fine. But I'm in a, yeah, I don't know. I've always just had a very strange relationship to, I write, I have to write, but I put it off because of the physical
Mm.
exhaustion of
Yeah.
writing.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, I guess we should read.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Um, do you want me to read? Do you want to read this time a little bit?
I can.
Or
How
do you
about
want
I
me to?
read a little bit today?
Good.
I feel up to it today.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to start with for a trifling instance.
Yeah.
For a trifling instance, not to mention, indeed not to parade, uh, electric street lamps of mass-produced pattern in your tale is escape in that sense. But it may almost certainly does proceed from a considered disgust for so typical a product of the robot age that combines elaboration and ingenuity of means with ugliness, and often with inferiority of result. These lamps may be excluded from the tale simply because they are bad lamps, and it is possible that one of the lessons to be learned from the story is the realization of this fact. But out comes the big stick. Electric lamps have come to stay, they say. Long ago, Chesterton truly remarked that as soon as he heard that anything had come to stay, he knew that it would be very
Mhm.
soon replaced. What sounds like Chesterton?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Indeed, regarded as pitiably obsolete and shabby. Uh, the march of science, its tempo quickened by the needs of war, goes inexorably on, making some things obsolete and foreshadowing new developments in the utilization of electricity and advertisement. This says the same thing, only more menacingly. The electric street lamp may indeed be ignored simply because it is so insignificant and transient. Oh, this is good.
Mhm.
Uh, Fairy stories, at any rate, have many more permanent and fundamental things to talk about. Lightning, for example. The escapist is not so subservient to the whims of evanescent fashion as these opponents. He does not make things which it may be, which it may be quite rational to regard as bad, his masters or his gods by worshipping them as inevitable, even inexorable. Is it inexorable or inexorable?
I think it's either one. I usually say inexorable too.
Inexorable.
Yeah.
Okay. And his opponents, so easily contemptuous, have no guarantee that he will stop there. He might rouse men to pull down the street lamps. Escapism has another and even wickeder face: reaction.
Mm.
Not long ago, incredible though it may seem, I heard a clerk of Oxenford declare that he welcomed the proximity of mass production robot factories and the roar of self obstructive mechanical traffic because it brought his university into contact with real life. He may have meant that the way men were living and working in the 20th century was increasingly in barbarity uh, at an alarming rate, and that the loud demonstration of this in the streets of Oxford might serve as a warning that it is not possible to preserve for long an oasis of sanity in a desert of unreason by mere fences, without actual offensive action, practical and intellectual. I fear he did not. In any case, the expression real life in this context seems to fall short of academic standards. The notion that motor cars are more alive than, say, centaurs or dragons is curious. That they are more real than, say, horses is pathetically absurd. How real, how startlingly alive is a factory chimney compared with an elm tree? Poor, obsolete thing, insubstantial dream of an escapist. For my part, I cannot convince myself that the roof of Bletchley Station is more real than the clouds, and as an artifact, I find it less inspiring than the legendary Dome of Heaven.
Mm.
Bridge to Platform 4 is to me less interesting than Bifrost, guarded by Heimdall with a Galanhorn. Galarhorn.
Yeah.
Uh, from the wildness of my heart, I cannot exclude the question whether railway engineers, if they had been brought up on more fantasy, might not have done better with all their abundant means than they commonly do. Fairy stories might be, I guess, better masters of art than the academic person I have referred to. Much that he and I'm sorry, much that he, I must suppose, and others certainly, would call serious literature is no more than play under a glass roof by the side of a municipal swimming bath. Fairy stories may invent monsters that fly in the air or dwell in the deep, but at least they do not try to escape from heaven or the sea.
Mm.
And we, and if we leave aside for a moment fantasy, uh, I do not think that the reader or the maker of fairy stories need even be ashamed of the escape of honor, of the escape of archaism, of preferring not dragons but horses, castles, sailing ships, bows and arrows. Not only elves, but knights and kings and priests. But it is after all possible for a rational man, after reflection, quite unconnected with fairy story or romance, to arrive at this condemnation, implicit at least in the mere silence of escapist literature, of progressive things like factories, or the machine guns or bombs that appear to be their most natural and inevitable, dare we say, inexorable products.
You want to take a break here for a minute?
Yep, sure,
Um,
sure.
this always resonates with me because when we moved up north with our children, a lot of people, saw that as us escaping you know, not modern life, but just escaping, you know.
Hmm.
You know, my husband had to, his mom passed away and he had to go through and collect up, you know, family documentation and letters, and you know, just saving things. And he found a letter that his father had written to him. I don't know if he probably didn't send it because my husband found it in his, you know, in his stuff. But it was a letter to us because we were moving to Canada, about how we were escaping and that we had to stay, you know, we should be staying in Switzerland, we should be staying in the society, we should be, you know, socializing our children and all this kind of thing. It was just really interesting to see that because in my mind and my husband's mind, where we went to was, as Tolkien's pointing out, more real than the life that we were living in a neighborhood in on the Lake of Zurich in Switzerland,
Hmm.
right? Where the kids were, they, oh, I want a bicycle and I want this and I my friend has these clothes and I want those, and you know, and the neighbors are telling you how to live your life, and you know, and it has to be, and then the government is saying, you know, you can have that, but you can't have that, and you know, and it was just everything's being imposed in a way on you. But then you go into the woods and you have and everything's alive, like it, everything is doing its own thing, like it's, and it's not imposing itself on you, but it stands sometimes as an obstacle, just in the sense that you physically can't move it, like a boulder or a tree, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah,
then
I know what you mean.
the
Uh-huh.
contention that you have with that thing, I talked about this recently, it's been on my mind, but the contention that you have with that natural thing is not the same kind of one that you have with your neighbor or with your municipality or with your government, right? Where you're trying to settle something or change a law or whatever.
Hmm.
The thing, the tree, the boulder, isn't trying to hurt you. It's not trying to get anything from you. It the contention becomes one with yourself in a sense, because you want to move it, and then and when you can't move it and you become frustrated and angry, you can't actually become angry with it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so then the question arises, and this comes from the boulder, why do you want to move me? And then you have to answer it, and so, and now you're having a conversation with creation, which is actually an inner world conversation, right? What is it about me that is angry
Yeah.
about this? You know what I'm saying? Like it's,
Hmm.
and it's, that conversation is far more real than the one that you're having in the city hall, you know, about
Hmm.
some legislation in your town, right? Or
Yeah.
a bylaw that you apparently broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Yeah. I was so it was so hilarious when he referred to Chesterton
Yeah.
and his paradox, because I immediately, my mind shot back to a conversation with my mom. She's such a she's an atheist, like a militant atheist, and she's into the she loves technology, she loves AI, even though she hates to talk,
Ah.
to call a bank and get a bot that doesn't understand anything
Yeah,
that
yeah,
she
yeah.
wants. Anyway, but it's kind of funny that she always tells me AI is here to stay.
Oh, you're kidding.
When I read that, I just it cracked me for sure, because Chesterton's quote comes in so handy at the
Perfectly.
right time. Like, if somebody is here to stay, it will probably go obsolete in a year or two, or whatever, real quick. And they're gonna talk about the next thing.
Yeah,
Now that thing is already kind of obsolete. Okay, let's talk about the next thing, and then the
yeah,
next thing, and the next thing,
yeah,
and So, but it's funny that in this case, he's talking about electric lamps of all things.
I know,
They're here. They're here to stay.
definitely are.
Anyway, they are staying, but in a different way.
Yeah, but they're also transient because they're vulnerable to sabotage. Like, everything that is not living is not really here to stay.
Yeah.
Like when I read that line, I was thinking of all the stuff in the landfill. you know, factories just pumping out plastic toys or whatever the thing is, and then it's all in the landfill at some point. Because after it's obsolete or broken or of no use anymore, it doesn't have another purpose.
Mm.
It's not here to stay. Whereas if a tree falls in the forest, it becomes soil for the next thing it is here to stay in a sense, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it has a
Yeah.
lasting,
Yeah.
There's an eternalness to it compared to electric lamps, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting this whole conversation about real life. What is real life? Um, and I mean, it's really it has to be felt. It has to be experienced again, bodily experienced. Just this afternoon, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you,
There was
but
a bit of a lag.
you're lagging a little bit and you're freezing a little bit, but you're coming in. It's
Oh,
okay.
okay. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. Just this afternoon, I was listening to the Odyssey. I was telling you about a little
Yeah.
bit in Russian, and I really like when Homer kind of breaks his linear plot of whatever is happening in a linear sequence, and he breaks it with some conversations among the gods or
Mm,
some thoughts inside Athena's head or something that she's
mm,
thinking about, or just he breaks the conversation with just describing how else the goddess of the dawn in Greek mythology suddenly rose from above the horizon, while Odyssey was at sea, and then he goes into this whole paragraph of describing what she does, like her fingers, which I believe are the rays of light,
mm.
the rays of the dawn. How she like met with Zephyr, the
The West
wind,
Wind.
how west wind, and all these kind of interesting. And I'm like, I'm listening to it. And I'm like going, what was going on in Homer's head at the moment?
Yeah.
Was it real? Was it real? Um, I have an electric lamp here, and I'm thankful for that. But is this real as opposed to? Compared to what Homer felt and what everybody can feel actually in the
Yeah.
morning. In
Yeah.
the morning, you feel
The
that
dawn.
a dawn, and it's like a conscious being coming out. And
I just
so
have
that.
I have to show you this. Hang on,
Mhm.
I'll just get rid of this. Can you see that picture?
Yes, yes.
That's at my lake.
Uh
I,
huh.
I didn't do anything.
So
I
it's
just
like
took.
it's like fingers, right? The rays of light,
Yeah.
exactly. So anyway,
hmm Yeah, yeah. I think that's exactly what he's saying when he talks about the Bifrost, or the Bifrost. That is, where was that now? What's on the other page? Now that I've been into the Nordic mythology, I know what that is. The Bifrost is, Heimdall is a god, and obviously he has a horn. I haven't read much about Heimdall, but I know the name. But the Bifrost is the Milky Way.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And the Milky Way, so there's the I don't know how they say it in Scandinavian, if it's Bifrost or Bifrost. And then there's Bilrust, and that's a rainbow. And
Yeah.
those are bridges from Earth from Middlegard, sound familiar? To
Hmm.
Asgard, the
Oh,
heavens. And the
uh-huh.
gods would, people would take the Milky Way to get to heaven when they died, and the gods would descend through the Milky Way or the rainbow during the day to meet at the base of Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree, to convene councils. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so
Wow. Wow.
he's saying here, what's more real, the electric lamp or the Rainbow Bridge, right? Or the Milky
Yeah,
Way.
he's actually talking about the bridge over platform 4
Yeah, and then he mentions that. Yeah.
at the
Mhm.
Bletchley station. Yeah.
But it's a bridge from heaven to earth, right? So
Yeah.
are these bridges, is this bridge the Milky Way, which you can see, and the rainbow, which you can see? He doesn't mention the rainbow, but is that more real? The bridge between heaven and earth that connects us, where the gods descend and the humans ascend, right?
Hmm.
Well, in my mind, that's more real than the electric lamp. To ascend, or to have the gods come down and convene, is a part of your, like, that's going to change your life, whereas the lamp is not necessarily going to change who you are, because it's about changing your consciousness.
Hmm.
I don't know, I'm just like, I'm just thinking about his ideas here of, how fairy stories survive and they become more real, because what they do is they reveal things to you about who you are, right? Which would be like an elevation, or you could call it an evolution, like Barfield does, of consciousness, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So maybe he's saying that those things are more real because they actually evolve your consciousness,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas the
Well,
lamp doesn't, right?
no,
Doesn't
that's
evolve your consciousness.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that, right before that, when he started talking about escape, fantasy as escape,
Mm,
he actually said that we are escaping from prison.
yes, he did.
And then he is describing the prison, and it's the prison of our own making,
Yeah.
basically. It's what we call the real world.
Hmm.
We have jailers there, we have walls,
Yeah.
and we
Constraint.
don't feel alive. I mean, we have all those, modern conveniences. We have all that, but do we feel alive?
Hmm.
Is the world wonderful? And Tolkien refers to this in the Hobbit, when Bilbo first entered the Smaug's lair, and he saw that, hoard of gold. He said
Right.
he couldn't find words. He said that Tolkien basically says uh, that he couldn't find the right word to express his staggerment. There's a word staggerment at what he saw, and then he says because the language, because men changed the language that they had learned of
Oh, that's
elves.
great.
Men changed the language they learned of elves, and so there's no way he could even say anything about that.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, Bilbo is the epitome of a very convenient,
Yes.
lackadaisical life,
Hmm.
right? Where everybody just kind of does the same thing, and life in the Shire is just, it's reliable, right?
Hmm. And he needed an escape.
He had to get away. Like, that's exactly what he did, right? He
Hmm.
like, that's why I love the phrase "there and back again." It's kind of like what Eliot says in at the end of the Four Quartets, that when you leave the place, you return to it and see it for the first time. right?
Yeah.
So, but you have to go, you have to escape. Like you have to get out and have an adventure, get into the dragon's lair and find the treasure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is my kind of argument here, you know, um, that he's making for escapism. Like he's taking the feels to me like he's taking the sharp critique because the word comes as a as a warning, right? Oh,
Mm.
you're escaping. Like that's a bad, you shouldn't be an escapist,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then like what we read last time, you mentioned it about you know, if somebody's in, being held hostage, is it a bad thing for them to escape? I can't remember how he puts it, but
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue or do you want me to or
Can you read for a while?
sure.
Uh-huh.
The rawness and ugliness of modern European life, that real life whose contact we should welcome, quote, is the sign of a biological inferiority of an insufficient or false reaction to environment, unquote. And he has a footnote from Christopher Dawson, Progress and Religion. Later, he adds the full Victorian panoply of top hat and frock coat undoubtedly expressed something essential in the 19th century culture, and hence it has, with that culture, spread all over the world, as no fashion of clothing has ever done before. It is possible that our descendants will recognize in it a kind of grim Assyrian beauty, fit emblem of the ruthless and great age that created it. But however that may be, it misses the direct and inevitable beauty that all clothing should have, because, like its parent culture, it was out of touch with the life of nature and of human nature as well. Not a fan of top hats.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The maddest castle that ever came out of a giant's bag in a wild Gaelic story is not only much less ugly than a robot factory, it is also, to use a very modern phrase, quote, in a very real sense, unquote, a great deal more real. Um, why should we not escape from or condemn the grim Assyrian absurdity of top hats? Oh, I can't. Your keyboard's loud, Eugene, for some reason.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Um, why should we not escape from or condemn the grim Assyrian absurdity of top hats or the more Lockean horror of factories? They are condemned even by the writers of that most escapist form of all literature, stories of science fiction. These prophets often foretell, and many seem to yearn for, a world, excuse me, like one big glass roofed railway station. But from them, it is, as a rule, very hard to gather what men in such a world town will do. They may abandon the full Victorian panoply for loose garments with zip fasteners, but will use this freedom mainly, it would appear, in order to play with mechanical toys in the soon cloying game of moving at high speed. Well, that's interesting that he sees that.
Mm-hmm.
To judge by some of these tales, they will still be as lustful, vengeful, and greedy as ever, and the ideals of their idealists hardly reach farther than the splendid notion of building more towns of the same sort on other planets. We're seeing that today. It is
Mm-hmm.
indeed it is indeed an age of improved means to deteriorated ends. It is a part of the essential malady of such days, producing the desire to escape, not indeed from life, but from our present time and self made misery, that we are acutely conscious both of the ugliness of our works and of their evil, so that to us evil and ugliness seem indissolubly allied. We
Mm.
find it difficult to conceive of evil and beauty together. Oh, that's a good, yeah. We find it difficult to conceive of evil and beauty together. The fear of the beautiful fae, that ran through the elder ages almost eludes our grasp. Even more alarming, a goodness is itself bereft of its proper beauty. In fairy, one can indeed conceive of an ogre who possesses a castle hideous as a nightmare, for the evil of the ogre wills it so. But one cannot conceive of a house built with a good purpose, an inn, a hostel for travelers, the hall of a virtuous and noble king, that is yet sickeningly ugly. At the present day, it would be rash to hope to see one that was not, unless it was built before our time.
Can we break for a
Yeah.
second?
Mm-hmm.
When you read what was that? Self-made misery.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're acutely conscious both of the ugliness of our works and of their evil. I believe I read somewhere in Chesterton once, and I don't remember where exactly it was, but he said, modern men don't like modern life because whatever we love, we beautify. And modern life is
Wow.
not beautiful.
There you go. That's a really
That
good
there,
observation.
yeah. Well, he started. It was when he was probably in the at the beginning of the 20th century when he wrote that. But he started with internal combustion engine, and he said, "Just look at that nest of vipers."
Yeah.
I don't know how it looked back then, and now it's kind of covered, with metal and plastic. But he said, I can't imagine anybody loving this thing. But you must beautify it at least a little bit, to love it.
Yeah.
And he gonna use it as a metaphor of this brave new world where things are ugly, even though we call them good, they are ugly, and therefore our hearts tell they're evil somehow.
Right.
Because you
Right.
can't imagine an augur building a beautiful cathedral.
No. Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's really, I'm going to keep that in mind, that modern man doesn't like modern life because everything around him is ugly.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about that. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Chesterton, eh? What a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Tolkien liked Chesterton. I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this, however, is the modern and special or accidental escapist aspect of fairy stories, which they share with romance and other stories out of or about the past. Many stories out of the past have only become escapist in their appeal through surviving from a time when men were, as a rule, delighted with the work of their hands, into our time when many men feel disgust with man-made things. There you go. That's right, what you were just talking about.
Yep.
But there are also other and more profound escapisms that have always appeared in fairy tale and legend. There are other things more grim and terrible to fly from than the noise, stench, ruthlessness, and extravagance of the internal combustion engine.
Oh, there you go. He must have read that, I'm sure.
He must have read that. He's stealing from Chesterton.
Oh, yeah.
There are hunger, thirst, poverty, pain, sorrow, injustice, and death. And even when men are not facing hard things such as these, there are ancient limitations from which fairy stories offer a sort of escape, and old ambitions and desires, touching the very roots of fantasy, to which they offer a kind of satisfaction and consolation. Some are pardonable weaknesses or curiosities, such as the desire to visit, free as a fish, the deep sea, or the longing for the noiseless, gracious, economical flight of a bird. That longing which the airplane cheats, except in rare moments. Seen high and by wind and distance, noiseless, turning in the sun. That is precisely when imagined, and not used. Okay, so it's silent when it's not used.
Mm-hmm.
There are profounder wishes, such as the desire to converse with other living things. On this desire, as ancient as the fall, is largely founded the talking of beasts and creatures in fairy tales, and especially the magical understanding of their proper speech. This is the root and not the confusion attributed to the minds of men of the unrecorded past, an alleged, quote, absence of the sense of separation of ourselves from beasts, unquote. A vivid sense of that separation is very ancient, but also a sense that it was a severance. A strange fate and a guilt lies on us. Other creatures are like other realms with which man has broken off relations and sees now only from the outside, at a distance, being at war with them or on the terms of an uneasy armistice. There are a few men who are privileged to travel abroad a little. Others must be content with travelers' tales, even about frogs. In speaking of that rather odd but widespread fairy story, The Frog King, Max Müller asked in his prim way, how came such a story ever to be invented? Human beings were, we may hope, at all times sufficiently enlightened to know that a marriage between a frog and the daughter of the queen was absurd. Unquote. Indeed, we may hope so, for if not, there would be no point in this story at all, depending as it does essentially on the sense of the absurdity. Folklore origins, or guesses about them, are here quite beside the point. It is of little avail to consider totemism, for certainly whatever customs or beliefs about frogs and wells lie behind this story, the frog shape was and is preserved in the fairy story, precisely because it was so queer, and the marriage absurd, indeed abominable. Though, of course, in the versions which concern us, Gaelic, German, and English, there is in fact no wedding between a princess and a frog. The frog was an enchanted prince, and the point of the story lies not in thinking frogs possible mates, but in the necessity of keeping promises, even those with intolerable consequences, that together with observing prohibitions runs through all fairyland. This is one of the notes of the horns of Elfland, and not a dim note. And lastly, there is the oldest and deepest desire, the great escape, the escape from death. Fairy stories provide many examples and modes of this, which might be called the genuine escapist, or I would say, fugitive spirit. You know what comes to my mind on that note, the escape from death and fantasy? They've been doing therapy with people who are at end of life, terminally ill or whatever, with psychedelics. And those people who have that kind of psychedelic therapy lose their fear of death. And I would say that if you do a psychedelic trip, you are in a fantasy, or you are right, like yeah, like it's a full immersion. So it's interesting that he brings this up in relationship to death, escaping death.
Yeah.
But so do other stories, notably those of scientific inspiration, and so do other studies. Fairy stories are made by men, not by fairies. The human stories of the elves are doubtless full of the escape from deathlessness. But our stories cannot be expected always to rise above our common level. They often do. Few lessons are taught more clearly in them than the burden of that kind of immortality, or rather endless serial living, to which the quote unquote fugitive would fly. For the fairy story is especially apt to teach such things of old and still today. Death is the theme that most inspired George MacDonald. Yay, he mentioned him. But the consolation of fairy stories has another aspect than the imaginative satisfaction of ancient desires. Far more important is the consolation of the happy ending. Almost, I would venture to assert that all complete fairy stories must have it. At least I would say that tragedy is the true form of drama, its highest function, but the opposite is true of fairy story. Since we do not appear to possess a word that expresses this opposite, I will call it eucatastrophe. The eucatastrophic tale is the true form of fairy tale and its highest function. The consolation of fairy stories, the joy of the happy ending, or more correctly, of the good catastrophe, the sudden joyous quote unquote turn, for there is no true end to any fairy tale. Oh, that's interesting. There's no true end to a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
This joy, which is one of the things which fairy stories can produce supremely well, is not essentially escapist nor fugitive. In its fairy tale or otherworld setting, it is a sudden and miraculous grace, never to be counted on to recur. It does not deny the existence of dis-catastrophe, of sorrow and failure. The possibility of these is necessary to the joy of deliverance. It denies, in the face of much evidence, if you will, universal defeat, a universal final defeat, and insofar is evangelium. Oh, interesting. Giving a fleeting glimpse of joy, joy beyond the walls of the world, poignant as grief. It is the mark of a good fairy story, of the higher or more complete kind, that however wild its events, however fantastic or terrible the adventures, it can give to child or man that hears it, when the turn, quote unquote, turn comes, a catch of breath, a beat and lifting of the heart, near to, or indeed accompanied by, tears, as keen as that given by any form of literary art and having a peculiar quality. That's how I felt when I read the intro, like the rune one of the Kalevala. I was reading it, I read it on my own while listening to the audio book. But then I wanted to share it with my sister and I read it to her out loud and I started to cry
Mm-hmm.
without even a warning. Like I didn't even feel it coming. And I was so, through the tears, I was like saying to her, I don't know why I'm crying. It was really peculiar because, as you know, the Kalevala is not, you can't understand it.
No, not at all.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. It
But
was
it was
funny.
doing something to me.
Yeah, it was. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I just turned it on. Well, actually, we first started listening to it a year ago while driving through,
Mm-hmm.
some of the west. We were going west through Utah and Nevada, and then we repeated the same experience this year because we wanted
Yeah.
to just to go on, do like at least 3, 4 more runes,
Right.
and but it was surreal experience because when you go through Utah, you see all those hills and
Oh yeah.
the amazing colors of it's just surreal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see it with your eyes and you listen it with your ears, because a lot of Kalevala is just mythological language of nature, like how
Landscape.
things are, landscape and everything.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you realize it's the earth speaking to you.
Right.
It's the earth itself, it's the lakes itself, it's the rivers itself, it's the hills, it's the trees that are speaking to you, all
Yeah.
these things. And they are, I mean, Kalevala is so sing-songy, meaning
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I don't know in English, but in Russian, they have a lot of phrases are repeated. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
repetitions,
A
lots of
lot of
repetitions.
lots of repetition.
And this also puts you in a kind of a certain mood because that's what you see. There's one
Mm-hmm.
hill, and then there's another hill, and then there's another hill, and then there's a turn on the road, and then there's another hill. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like the rhyme of the earth itself
Mm-hmm.
comes over you, and you don't really. Yeah, I mean, if somebody asks me what happened, oh, I mean, I can probably tell what happened, but it's not the point at all. It's what it plunges you, where it
Yeah.
immerses you. It immerses you so much
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
into that thing.
Into a symbolic language, actually.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, like that's interesting. I never thought about it this way, but when I was on my trip, I took a picture of a young cedar tree and I was sitting at the campfire. Everybody was sleeping. I had my coffee maker, this little campfire coffee thing. And I was making my coffee and I looked up and there was this young cedar right in front of me. and it was silhouetted by the sun behind it, and its branches went like this, like literally like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like angel wings, and they just like all the way down they went like that. But then I was like, my first thought was angel wings, and then I was like, birds, feathers,
Yes. Yeah.
trees, and then all those, and then I remembered, I don't remember if it was Esther Meek talked about this. Someone mentioned, I think it was Michael Lighty mentioned this to me years and years ago. This idea of non-identical repetition.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And that's literally like when you just mentioned the fact that there's a lot of repetition in the Kalevala, but it's also it's in that meter, right? Where the cadence of the poetry,
Mm-hmm.
which is total repetition. Like the cadence holds, it
Yes.
holds itself through the whole thing. So you're almost hypnotized,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Well,
But that is the nature of nature. It's non-identical repetition. Like
yes.
literally the form, meter, and spoken poetry of the Kalevala is non-identical repetition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
It's interesting because it's repetition, but each repetition is not identical to the one that's
No.
following.
Right.
As you were talking, I see the flowers behind your windows. They're turning and dancing.
Mm-hmm. In the wind.
In the
It's
wind.
really windy.
They're always spinning. They're always spinning. And I like it. I like it. It's just, but I don't know how many spins they did, but none of it was identical, really.
Right.
Because if it was identical, I wouldn't be so hypnotized
Fascinated.
by the dance of those, pots
Baskets.
over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like watching flames in a fire, too. Flames
Oh yes,
yes. They're all flames,
true.
but they're non-identical repetition, right? Yeah, that's really interesting. I never put it together. That's why I'm mentioning it. I never put it together that in the poem, when they do those repetitions, that it's actually reflects, like you said, like the whole thing is the earth speaking to you.
Yeah.
Even the repetition.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is so slow. The earth speaks in a very slow manner. I mean, at a certain point we were listening to this one room, and Ina stopped and said, I mean, can you imagine taking so much time to say pretty much the same thing over and over again, and in such language that it's just amazing how they choose the adjectives, and they kind of make composite adjectives, and then they say it again, and then in different ways. But and you wonder, what have I just heard? And the modern mind wants the message as quick as possible,
right.
whereas the earth doesn't speak that way. Those flowers that are spinning, they don't speak that way.
No.
It's like
way. Treebeard comes to my mind.
Yeah.
When they have their little council, and that takes them forever.
Yeah. Don't be hasty, young hobbits. Hasty folk, yes.
Yeah, I have a literal Treebeard on my property. It's a really old Douglas fir, and it got struck by lightning once, so it's got this huge scar down it that's all charred, and it's such a deep wound that I would just guess that probably for about 150 years it's been closing it.
Oh.
And so it saps there, because that's what that is. When a tree saps from a wound, it's closing it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine, it's been sapping from that wound for 150 years at least, because I'm pretty sure that tree is about 350 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he kind of nailed it with Treebeard.
He did. Well, he must have watched something like this, for quite a long time.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, I have to go in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, You know, I just I thought of a poem that I wrote that I thought might be, but now I forget which one it is. So it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to do it what I did last time. I'm going
Yeah.
to read the first line of where we're at so that
Hmm.
we can find it again.
Sure.
Okay. Even modern fairy stories can produce this effect sometimes. It is not an easy thing to do. It depends on the whole story, which is the setting of the turn, and yet it reflects a glory backwards. All right.
Yeah.
And in my book, it's on page 69. Note to self.
Yep. Yep. That's a good
All right.
ending.
Yeah, that's a good ending. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Sherry.
Yeah, I just want to let you know in the audience, anybody who watches this, I've got company coming on the 2nd of September for 3 weeks. And I'll see if I can fit in another on fairy stories, but it's highly possible that I won't because I'll have a grandchild here and I'm going to try to get as much time in with that person as possible.
Sure, take your time.
Yeah,
That's the real thing.
that's the real
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us. And thanks very much, Eugene. And we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. See you next time.
Bye, all.
Bye bye.